All right, good afternoon. Welcome to Match Day. I'm Vince Gansberg, and our special guest today is Ronnie Bouemboue. Did I say that right?
Yep, pretty close.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So I'm glad we got audio, by the way. So that's one thing that we always want to check to make sure we have audio. Ian might be joining us. I'm not sure, but anyway, Coach, thank you so much for taking time away to share your time and talents with us. And we got some people in the chat box, so that's great. We got some people live. That's good. So we're just going to talk a little bit with Coach about his journey. He just got hired at Eastern Illinois University, and one of the reasons why I thought it was really interesting is because here he just got hired, and then COVID hit, right? So everything changed. I mean, some of us were, coaching and then COVID hit. He literally just got hired and then COVID hit. So Coach, thank you so much for being on. Appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. Happy to be here, Coach. And appreciate the invite.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. So Ronnie, I've asked Ronnie just to kind of share his journey, and I'm going to turn my face off. And so Ronnie can just talk about his journey. And then we've got some people in the chat box. Rob Cummings, who is a men's soccer coach I'm sorry, he's at Missouri S&T. Which is, fairly close to you. And we got a few others. I'll see if I can find those people. But so let's go and just talk about your journey. You talked about, your family's in Brooklyn, but let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Happy to share it. I'm going to try to keep this short and concise out. Obviously, not everybody's interested in all the details and the intricate stuff. But originally, I was born in Congo, Brazzaville, Congo. Family moved over to the States when I was about 10 years old. Played my youth soccer in Brooklyn, New York, for several clubs. Was fortunate enough to attend North Carolina State University and played for the late George Tarantini over at NC State. After that, shortly started my graduate school work at NC State. Coach Kelly Finley was awesome enough to help keep me on staff when he did come in. And then got my first coaching opportunity as assistant coach over with Jim DeRose at Bradley University. Also an experience there for 2 seasons. Then I headed back to NC State as a volunteer coach for about 1.5 years before Coach Brian Barnett over at IUPUI gave me a call when he got the job over at IUPUI in the summer of 2016. And so I joined him there and was, grateful for the opportunity to help him build the program that he has there at IUPUI right now. And then February of 2020, I was fortunate enough to go through the interview process, and I was named the 10th head men's soccer coach here at Eastern Illinois University, where I am now.
No, it's great. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you got a few comments in the chat box. Trevor Banks is asking the same hair, right? The same barber, right? And I would mine is a Gillette razor, but
mine is a clipper.
All right. Well, you're younger than me. You got hope. Mine's gone. So my
I don't know if I got hope, man. So as you can imagine.
Well, thank you so much. No. So a lot of really good names that you just dropped there. I mean, Coach Tarantini, Kelly Finley. He was here at Butler when I was a state director of coaching. At Butler, and then for Indiana, and then I knew he moved on with Dave Costa, right? If I remember right. So that's good. And then Brian, obviously we met, and then that's how we met at IUPUI. But no, well, thank you so much. So we saw each other in January at our course, and you were taking the premiere, and I was just doing my thing with the national group, and you were talking about you were applying for the Eastern Illinois job. And,
we were.
And I remember.
Crazy world.
It was nuts. And then I think we had you. I think we connected you and Shellis, right? Because Shellis Hyman, legendary coach, used to coach there as well. And so luckily put you two together. Did that help you with Coach Hyman's?
You know what? Coach Hyman was awesome. Obviously his history here with EIU is a legend, a legend back in the day. And so I think having that conversation with them for the short time we're there was enlightening for me. I mean, gave me some great tips. Just basically, told me to be myself, and go for it, not be afraid, and take the leap. If I think I'm ready. It was a wonderful conversation, one I'll never forget. And obviously, very fortunate to meet him a couple of times before that. Our first season at IUPUI, we played at Grand Canyon. So just picking his brain. I mean, you name it, right? Just picking his brain for a little bit, and with his extensive background in the game, I mean, he's one of the guys in the game you have a conversation with, you're listening and you're attentive and you're soaking up all the knowledge he's able to share with you. So no, it was great. It was great.
No, well, thank you. Coach Hyman was my first ever instructor.
Yeah.
On the first ever coaching course I took, he scared me to death. But then afterwards, you find out he's a really awesome man.
Really awesome person. A really awesome person. Yeah.
So Coach Barker just joined us. And by the way, he has the same barber. Coach Trevor. But I'll let Coach Barker say hello and maybe ask a question or two.
Yeah, Ronnie, what do you think about your conference? What would you call it? I mean, if you consider it a mid-major, one automatic bid to the NCAAs?
One automatic bid to the NCAAs. We are a mid-major. The likes of Denver, who's been really good in the league the last couple of years. We got Western Illinois, who's been awesome. UMKC recently joined us this year. Oral Roberts had an outstanding season last year, just with the amount of games that they won representing the conference well. And then Omaha, Coach Bob Warming over at Omaha, is obviously have a competitive program. So it is a tough league, as anybody can imagine, just like all the leagues are in the country. But if you're fortunate enough, obviously, to come out of this league and get the automatic bid, it's definitely an honor.
I think a lot of people don't realize how difficult scheduling is these days. First of all, did you inherit your schedule, or did you have a chance to shape it?
Essentially, I inherited the schedule this year, as you can imagine, right? Massively competitive schedule. I think we are very fortunate to be in a region where we can play those competitive games, right? And so you talk about the likes of DePaul. You talk about the likes of Notre Dame, who we're scheduled to go to this year. You talk the likes of Belmont, who's a pretty good competition down there. And so IUPUI, I'm going to go back and see my old boss, Brian Barnett, over there. But no, we're in the area, in the region where the competition level of scheduling is tough as it is within the conference, but, as well as outside the conference.
Sure. And I know personally very well that it's not always the big schools. So, for example, Akron, right, has always been the last 10 years, maybe a little bit longer, a real powerhouse program, and it's not in one of those power conferences. So you've mentioned Notre Dame. What do you think the experience will be like trying to get games against teams from the Big Ten or some of the bigger conferences? Is that a challenge for a school?
Oh, definitely. I think it is. It is, right? I think, when you talk about bids to the NCAA, when you talk about, that whole process of putting your team in a position, essentially that's what we all compete for, to be able to represent our universities in that national tournament. The truth of the matter fact is, programs like EIU right now, right, we're at the bottom end when it comes to the RPI game, right? And so scheduling things like that is always tough because, for one reason or another, we're a danger essentially to their rankings, to their RPI, to their position to be able to qualify for those tournaments, should they not win their, conference championships. And so having those conversations with the coaches are tough. I think, again, luckily we're in a region where playing a team like us is feasible, right? It's easy trip, easy travel, close to get to a lot of games. And so there's a lot of positive in playing a program like us. But, at the same time, I mean, we're going to play those games to compete. It's not we're going to play those games to compete and come out with the best results as possible as we can.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, when I was helping at Wisconsin, Illinois State was a program which subsequently lost its member program, but You've got Eric there at Western Illinois. You've got
Yeah.
some proud tradition in DeKalb, but Northern Illinois, obviously Southern Illinois, Drake, DePaul, Northwestern.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to leave the state to get.
You're totally right. Yeah,
No kidding.
you're totally right.
No kidding. So we've got quite a few questions in the chat box. So I'll just start asking some of them, Coach. So first off, Casey, who was our guest yesterday, along with his son, Alex, was on yesterday. It was a fantastic webinar. It was absolutely wonderful. Little 10-year-old kid telling us what's up. It was great. It was awesome. But no, Casey asks, did you have a chance to start recruiting before COVID hit? And how have you handled it, during this period?
Yeah. So before COVID hit, so obviously I came in early February. We had zero commitment, right? We had zero commitment for the fall. We have 15 returners coming back, right? And so my goal was to try to secure at least 10 commitments, right, to put us in a decent in a decent shape. So since COVID hit until now, I was able to, knock on wood, secure 11 commitments, right, of guys that will be coming in with our program, joining us this fall. 2 of them are foreigners, and the rest of them are domestic kids. And I think it's a good group of guys, very diverse group of guys that I'm bringing in. But yeah, obviously with the COVID hitting, definitely forced my hand and definitely, pushed me to go outside my comfort zone as far as recruiting. I think I've come through programs where recruiting, we put a high premium of watching kids play live, right? Watching kids play live. And now with the COVID hitting, I did spend a lot of time like this in front of a computer, right? A lot of time watching videos, getting a lot of videos of games and not just highlights, right? Games, clips, and all of that. Talking on the phone, having those Zoom meetings and conversations multiple times a week. I think a few people on my campus have been awesome. You talk about advisors in the different academic areas on campus. They were super awesome being able to join me on Zoom with some of these prospects to get information to them that I couldn't get, right? I mean, they're experts in their areas, in their field. And so making those connections hopefully added value to each of these kids that I'm recruiting, that I recruited and that I'm bringing in to be able to paint the whole picture for them of what EIU is and what they're coming into. And so that was a challenge for sure. But, I think one that navigated okay, in the sense that I was able to get 11 commitments. And so hopefully this is not going to be the norm moving forward. So
Ronnie, as Vince tees up another question from the panel, we got some great ones from Rob and Armin and Trevor Banks there. What is your scholarship allotment from the school?
It's very low. It's very low. I'll tell you that. I think I don't know if that's something I want to share. I'll keep that with us.
Could you tell the audience? Could you tell the audience what the maximum is allowable?
So the maximum allowable by the NCAA is 9.9 scholarship, right? Yeah. And so that means you are fully funded, right, and able to provide a level of 9 full scholarships to attend university and a 0.9. So NCAA, wherever that number came from. But we are at the very bottom end of that spectrum. When it comes to scholarships.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, don't worry. I mean, listen, that's information is something I share with anybody that asks me, right? I know all my buddies know, including Trevor Banks. He knows what I'm working with over here for sure. So
because I think a lot of the audience don't appreciate, mums and dads don't appreciate that it's not like you have, even if you had the max, 9.9 scholarships a year. Yeah. So even if you had the max, you'd only be giving out tiny portions across the squad.
Yes,
and a lot of parents and kids don't understand that, do they?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, I mean it's a commodity, and I tell this to every young man that I'm recruiting. And so, listen, I'm at a place where I understand what I'm asking you to do, right? But I hope that you see that this experience and what I'm trying to lay out for you is going to be worth it for the 4 years here. And I only say that because I know my experience was just that. It's a tremendous undertaking, and we have that tough conversation of no athletic scholarship being awarded. We have that conversation on the front end, and it's a commitment that they make. And I'm glad 11 guys were able to make it. Some of them, are on some scholarship, some way, type of full, but majority, all of my guys, right? All of my guys have a stake in their education here and a stake in their experience here because essentially they are paying for it.
Yeah, that's very well put. I think also sometimes parents and players don't understand that you're just trying to make the money stretch. It's not like you get to put it in your back pocket or
no,
go on holiday with it.
It doesn't go with me. It doesn't go into my bank account. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it is. It's always a difficult conversation with an athlete, and you just hope they understand the economics of it too. That
100%.
it's not you're necessarily trying to be a salesman or somehow cut corners. You're simply trying to stretch the money across as many guys as you can, right?
Yeah. And we're straightforward with that conversation. It's usually the last conversation that we do have, right? Before a commitment or a non-commitment is made. Sometimes they want to commit before that, but I make them sit down with their parents and myself, and we have that conversation before, they utter those words to me. So
excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's good. So couple of questions, quite a few. It's great though. I love it when the people interact in the chat box. It's great. So Rob asks, first off, he says he knows a little bit about Eastern Illinois, which is great. He says, looking at, this fall or at the program, what do you see as the challenges and the positives you feel as far as getting Eastern Illinois to the postseason, right, consistent?
Yeah, I mean, the positives are, I think you got an awesome core of returners, right? We got an awesome core returner guys coming back, most of which, have experience, conference postseason play during their time here. And so we're going to rely heavily on their experience, right? And their backgrounds and being here, right, to help usher in this group of 10 guys that we have coming in. Yeah. This group of 10 guys that we have coming in have some sort of experience as well. About a third of them are going to be transfers, right? We got a young man coming in to us from Jacksonville University down in Florida. Okay. 2 guys transferring from junior colleges. Another young man coming in from Culver Stockton. So those 4 guys, along with the other guys, are going to be expected to come into a group that's experienced, right? And again, their task will be how quickly can they emerge together to try to usher us into that goal of making the postseason. And so I think that's super positive. As far as the challenges, I mean, for everybody right now, the biggest challenge is, are we going to have a season, right? And so and what that's going to look like. I think once we get to a point where we figure out what our season is going to look like, I think that's going to be a challenge in itself, and being able to manage that on a daily basis. It's how quickly can we get the younger guys acclimated, the new guys acclimated to what we do here, to the culture, to what we're trying to do moving forward. And obviously, the games are going to be what they are. They're going to be very competitive. And that's my hope, that we step into every game and we compete, for 90 minutes, when the whistle blows till the whistle stops and blows at the end. I think when you want to, talk about results and things like that, those are things I can't control. I know I can control them because I'm on the sideline, right? Yelling out instructions.
Are over.
No. And so, I think those are going to be some of the things that we'll constantly, have to figure out right now.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the word culture there, and Trevor asks a really good question. So, you haven't really got to know your players and so, prior to them being forced to leave, right, and having you learning from home and all that stuff. And so what are you doing now to try and build your culture for the way you want leading into the fall?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fluid thing for me, right? Culture and that word, because it changes from, year to year, depending on the group of guys you have. It changes from, every 4 years or something, depending on the group of guys you have, but I think one of the things I try to establish with them coming in from the get-go is we have 4 core principles that we're going to be leading on, right? We're going to be competitive in everything we do. We're going to be organized in everything we do. We're going to be disciplined in everything we do. And we're going to perform at a high level of service, right? Not only to our athletic department, but to the campus community and the community of Charleston at large, And so every conversation that we have touches on one of those 4 principles every day. Right. I think the biggest thing for us right now, since we've had very little time together, and most of our time right now essentially has been spent away from each other, right, is to make sure that we're keeping those connections, right, and we're holding each other accountable. My biggest thing right now is to make sure that all my guys are okay, mentally and physically. Just checking up on them and make sure they're doing okay. And, it's that summertime and preparing themselves to come back when we do come back in tip-top shape to be able to continue to move our program forward.
No, fantastic. Yeah, I love the 4 themes. That was good. So Coach Barker, you popped on.
Yeah, so Ronnie, we have a young attendee who comes in with his dad. He was actually on yesterday. We actually had him on your side of the camera. His name is Alex. And you may be recruiting him in about 8 years.
All right.
So
he's got to shave his head, though. He's got to shave his head.
So I think a lot of players don't realize that as coaches, we do more research than simply watching them play, right?
Yes.
We talk to coaches and we observe them. So when you're watching a player outside of the technical and tactical ability, what are a couple of the qualities that you try to observe that really turn you on? And maybe what is 1 or 2 of them that make you give pause about whether you want to recruit them? And you're talking to a young guy that would like to get recruited one day.
Yeah. I mean, listen, number 1, outside of technical and tactical stuff, body language, right? Body language is a big thing. Right? Body language is a big thing. If you're a player that's walking around the field constantly with your head down, right, or walking around the field, every time something goes wrong, you stop for 5 seconds and you want to point a finger and doing this, and the game is just running around you. That's a red flag, right? That's a red flag. That's just on the field stuff. And, when you're talking about all the research that goes into it, right? I mean, a coach like myself, I'm not to date you guys, but I'm fairly young, right? So the Twitter game and the Instagram stuff, I'm pretty familiar with. And so like all of that information and what you put on there or how you portray yourself as a person has a lot of weight, right? In the type of people that I do want to recruit, that we do bring into our program. And so being able to manage yourself in every aspect of what you do, and that's what I tell my guys here every day is like, listen, everything you do is affected, right? Affects everybody. So don't think that, this part of your life, even if you're away from campus right now, you're at home, you do something, it's on social media, it pops up. The first thing that's going to happen is they're going to say, that's an Eastern Illinois men's soccer player, ... right? Doesn't matter what it is, right? Once you're here, you wear this shirt, you sign up to be part of this program. There's a standard, right, that we each have to abide by to remain as a member or part of this program. And all of that is done through the evaluation process. Most of the time, maybe before we even start a conversation on the recruiting process.
Right? So Ronnie, the young Alex is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We saw him yesterday. So half his head is kind of like yours and mine and Vince's, and he has another half. So Alex, what I can tell you is, if you want to have a haircut like that when you're 18, you go for it, because that's you and that's your personality.
100%.
But some coaches won't like it, which means you probably don't want to play for that coach. And others might see it as individuals. So a lot of times, Ronnie, right? It's a fit,
No, 100%.
Yeah, button down.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Hey, I had a mullet with a tail. So there you go. Imagine that visual, everybody. But so, Ronnie, we only got a couple of questions, and you've been very gracious with your time.
No worries.
Tina's asked, how busy have you been since March? And we kind of talked before, going live, how busy. But he just said, have you used your time to educate yourself, maybe reading books, planning for your team? Which one do you think is the most important with the current uncertainty? So like educating yourself or planning for the team, because everything's uncertain right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a little bit of both, right? It's a little bit of both. I think for me right now, being a first-time head coach, and not having the spring, I guess, the traditional spring that you would have had, So it is a lot of planning for me, right? It is a lot of planning for me for what the season could be, what it would look like. At the very least, I'm still planning to have a skeletal structure of what we're going to do, right? Should we have a regular season, but obviously be ready and flexible to make some changes. The education piece is massive as well. I am reading books. I am, almost once or twice a week, I'm on some sort of educational webinar, right? Whether it's with coaches or whether it's with, some of the social issues and social unrest that's going on across our country. And so, that's a piece that will never stop. That's a piece that will never stop.
Yep. No, very good. So, Rob asked a quick question, and you might not know the answer. Is Division I reducing their games like Division II? He's in Division II. Yeah. From 18 to 14. Do you know yet? But you said that there's an announcement coming.
Yeah, no. I think right now there's no changes in what the NCAA has said about the Division I and the amount of games that we're allowed to play. I think right now they're leaving it to the conferences to kind of decides and the coaches to kind of decide what their schedules would look like based on what the universities are doing. But I would like to speculate, hopefully within the next week or two, that we hear some sort of guidance, because mainly a lot of schools and a lot of universities are changing their schedules for the fall, right? As to when, they'll bring their kids back on campus, as to when they'll end their semesters physically on campus and then taking stuff online for the rest of the time. And so I think the NCAA is going to hopefully reflect that schedule and kind of give us a little guidance in that regards. So
no, and before like I said, we got on the air, my son's schedule's been reduced to 13 games. One conference game, 1 non-conference game, 12 conference games. So it's who knows, it could be changed even more, right?
For sure. I mean, the priority is going to be right to obviously make sure that everybody has a conference schedule. However the NCAA tournament would look like, right? That you're able to present a team that competed well within conference to represent you guys at that level. So
very good.
So Ronnie, I got three things. First of all, thank you so much for your time and best of luck for the season. Number one, I live 2 blocks from Durwood Soccer Stadium in UMKC. So if you guys come to town, I'll come down and we'll get a coffee.
Yeah.
And when you see Dr. Johnson from Western Illinois, it reminds me of Clint Eastwood from the movie Gran Torino.
Oh, he's a legend, though. He's a legend.
He bust his chops because he just deserves a little bit of jibing with occasionally. He's way too cool for school.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and again, I appreciate Coach you coming on, and congratulations on.
Thank you.
Position. I know you. We talked in January, right? You were wanting this one, and I'm like, go for it. It's good. And I'm glad you're good. You're good. And then stay safe and good luck this season.
No, I appreciate you.
Let's keep in touch. And it's good to see a fellow Hoosier, even though you're not a native Hoosier. But move on.
Yes, sir.
And I went to IUPUI my first year of college. We were a club sport back then. But
look at that.
There you go. But no,
great connections,
Coach. And so everyone that wants to join us on Thursday, we have Myron Vaughn, who's a young coach. He's not quite as young anymore as he used to be. But, he's a coach in a club here in Indianapolis, and we're going to talk about the reality of returning to play. So, Coach, thank you so much. And
thank you guys. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
All right, thank you, everybody.